So it's recording. All right. So what I wanted to do was address any question that you had regarding the quiz. So what you need to know for the quiz is you need to know how to, I mean, some of the things are pretty obvious, right? You understand what a variable is, but you'll have to know, give me an appropriate name for a variable used to describe the number, I don't know, the number of in a port. I don't know. So what I'm looking for there is when you declare a variable, what do you name the variable? So I'm looking for camel case format. If I say declare and initialize, if you just said cups to quarts, that's not going to suffice. So you may get the name right, but the initialization is off. So if I said to you, declare and initialize a variable to hold some integer value, what do you do?
For some integer value?
Yeah, so if I said let us declare and initialize a variable that's used to hold the number of miles per gallon per year. We want to use that variable in a program. So how would you declare and initialize that variable?
You could do.
It's not just for Aaron too. You could answer the question as well.
All right. I guess I'd declare it as, like, the first word would probably be for me just value with all lowercase, just to say like this is a numerical value, and then it would probably either be like miles or an abbreviation like MPG.
Okay, good. Keep going.
And then and then I'd define it as a value design, like a value used to hold an input. He inputted an integer that was inputted into the program.
That's the comment. But how would you declare and initialize the variable value MPG?
Be like set miles per gallon per year.
That is a piece of pseudocode. But how would you do it in Python?
You'd have to set it equal to. I think you'd have to set it equal to 0. I think initially.
Let's pretend my hands are on the keyboard, and I'm typing in the Python code to declare and initialize the variable value MPG. What would I type in?
Value MPG.
You do input?
No.
Okay.
Would it equal the value, like value MPG equals, I know later on you're going to say 0 because it's going to be a number, but like initially.
You're making it really complicated. So most of the questions that I ask, they're really simple, but I think people try to apply calculus to something like how do you add two values together? It's not supposed to be that complicated. If I said declare and initialize the variable value MPG, it's simple. What would you do? Declare and initialize. I didn't
Would it just be value MPG equals 0?
That's it.
Okay.
That's to declare and initialize. So you basically declared the variable by saying to Python, I'm planning on using the variable value MPG somewhere in my program. Initializing it means you have to assign it a specific value. You could say value MPG equals 100, value MPG equals 9,000, value MPG equals 0. That's a declaration and initialization to a particular value. That's it. If I then said later on, I want you to write the line of Python code which queries the user for the MPG value of their vehicle, assume that the value is going to be an integer. What would you type? That's for you too, James.
All right, yeah, I'm thinking about it.
Would you use input for this one? Like
Well, is there any other Python syntax that allows you to query the user for input? Up to this point, we've only done one piece of Python syntax that allows you to get user input. Only one, and that is input. So the syntax of the input function is what? How do you use the input function? We're going to make the assumption that the variable is value MPG. So how do I ask the user for the MPG rating for their vehicle in Python?
You
can go ahead.
Would you say value MPG equals, and then input parentheses in quotes, like enter?
Keep going.
Miles per gallon. Yeah, something like that, I guess. And then colon.
Yeah, colon, quotation mark, close parentheses. What do you think, James?
If I remember correctly reading the textbook, you'd also have to you'd have to set it as a string value, I think, first, and then you'd have to convert it to an integer.
Okay, so you're using some very powerful words, actually. So one of the problems with Python is that the input function assumes that the input value that's pulled in from the user is a string. If you're planning on using the MPG rating for a car in a calculation, you've got to convert it to a numerical value. That's the reason why we preceded the input function with the typecast operator int. So it would have to be value MPG equals int, open parentheses, input, open parentheses, quotation mark, please enter the MPG rating for your car, colon, space, quotation mark, close parentheses, close parentheses. Now, this is not meant to sound condescending. You do know that if you have two open parentheses, you have to have two closed parentheses, right?
Yeah.
You don't. Python sees it as a syntax error. That's the reason why you have to match them. Okay. So, Aaron, you got partial credit. You have to use the input function, yes. If what you're pulling in from the user is a numerical value, you must precede the input function with the int. It's called integer, basically. The int typecast operator.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to bring up, what is it? I'm going to try to bring up PyCharm on my screen, so this way you can see it. And while I'm doing that, go ahead, talk to me about something else that you need to talk about.
Yeah, I just wanted to run my idea. So if I just made a couple of corrections to my pseudo algorithm, would my original idea be good? Or I have another idea if you want me to do that.
It'll be okay if you do what you said you were going to do. As far as you're going to be asking the user for both the value and the
type of currency.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one, because what's going to happen is you're going to ask the user for a value, let's say $5, and then based on what those two inputs are, you're going to use decision logic. So if currency equals dollars, then you convert
to pounds and euros.
Yeah, but there's going to have to be a calculation that has two different types of mathematical functions. Like, you just can't have euros equals dollars times 542. You know, that's only one calculation. So Aaron,
so I have to figure out a way to make it a second.
Yeah, you got to figure out something, because that one calculation has to have. So Aaron, when you were talking before the audio started going crazy, He said, I don't understand what you mean by two mathematical computations. So in that one calculation, you would have to have addition and multiplication, multiplication and subtraction, all with at least two functions in one calculation.
So should I just do I just combine? Because first I had the multiplication, then the addition. So if I combine the two, is that okay?
That would qualify.
Okay.
So if you did it in one line, so it would say, like, I don't know, I'm just making this up. Subtotal equals, your one calculation is going to be this times this, plus, and then another calculation. You fulfilled the requirement.
Okay.
You can't have two separate calculations, each doing one. You know what I'm saying? So you have to have it as one.
Okay.
Somebody in the class it's actually I'm not saying it's complicated, but it's a more complicated equation where they're doing exponents. Multiplying two numbers together in parentheses and then raising that to a certain power. That's two complications. Okay, so that's what you need to do.
Okay. But otherwise, like, my overall kind of idea is okay?
I think so. I have like 10 people's things in my mind, and I got to make.
I was the haircut one with adding the tip.
Yeah, I don't know how you're going to do. You have to have decision logic in there somewhere.
And then that was my other question, what you meant by that decision.
Okay, so there has to be decision logic that is going to see in decision logic in the third activity. Decision logic says, based on user input, you're going to decide to do something or not to do something.
Like the if statement?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So, for instance, I'm just making this up. I don't know anything about this. So let's say for the sake of discussion, part of your algorithm says you ask the user how many hours they worked. Just say. Part of your decision logic can be, if hours is greater than 40, then the labor rate is 1.5 times the hourly rate. Right?
Okay.
Difference. So if they work 40 hours, and let's say they get $8 an hour, for the extra 10, they get $12 an hour. So your if logic would be, if hours is greater than 40, then the hourly wage is different, right? So that's where the decision logic comes in.
Okay.
That's something you got to take into consideration. That's one of the things that's part of project programming assignment number 1.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I think I have an idea for how I could turn my my program into like two mathematical equations in one sense. I could try and do where I add like the tax to, like if I'm trying to figure out how much a certain item would cost in like another currency, like I could add like the rate of tax.
Right.
Because then that would be like multiplication and addition.
Right. Now, one of the things that you might want to consider, and this really is a true life situation. As a matter of fact, it's being decided on in Congress this week. Hold on a second here. 3. Okay. I'm trying to create something for us to look at. So what they're trying to figure out is, if you buy something online, let's say from Amazon, and technically, if you live in a different state than from where you're purchasing the item from, you're not supposed to be able to be charged tax. And that's what people love, right? If I buy something in Idaho and I'm living in New York, I don't get charged tax. So the companies, the states don't like that because they're missing out on a lot of money. So what they're trying to do is to try to figure out if they could charge tax no matter where you're buying the item from. So one of the things you might want to consider, James, is that asking the user what state they're in, where they're purchasing from, and then you can then do the if logic to calculate the tax based on if it's not equal to each other, So if they're buying in New York and they live in New York, you charge tax. If they're living in New York and they're buying from Connecticut, you don't charge tax. That's a consideration.
Yeah, or like if I'm like depending if they're buying something from like in my case, this is between pounds, dollars, and euros. If they're buying something from overseas,
Right. Yeah, so
like it wouldn't charge tax as well.
right. So I'm trying to make it so I'm trying to force the ability to use that project but fulfill the requirement.
Yeah, I get it.
Right. So Aaron, in your case, if you're doing the tax, I mean the tip and doing an additional piece might be to track the number of hours that the person is working. I'm just giving an example. You don't have to do this. I'm just saying, if you track the number of hours the person's working, I know as a hairdresser, by federal law, if you work anything more than, I think, 38.5 hours, you can round it to 40, by federal law, the organization is supposed to give you additional monies. So if you were to do in your case, if they had over 40 hours, you take the 40 and that's the hourly wage, let's say is $8 an hour. And then the additional X number of hours, 10, 15, 20, is paid at a rate of 1.5, 2.5, whatever it is. And you probably know this already as far as when you work. If you're working a holiday, typically charge you double. I mean, they give you double time. If you're working more than 40 hours, they take you time and a half. That's what it means. So that's a consideration.
Would I still do that based on, so what I have is like enter the original cost of the haircut, and then I'm having the user enter the amount of tip they want, and then I'm calculating? Would that
that's right.
work?
All right, that's right. That's right. So your calculation is calculating the amount of the tip based on the cost of the item?
Yeah, and then I'm adding the tip to the cost, and then the output is just
so here's something. This is something really cool that you might want to consider that would solve the decision logic. You ready for this?
Sure.
How about if you gave the user the choice of 15, 20, or 25% tip? Then in your decision logic, you would say, I don't know, if percent tip equals 15%, you're now calculating what the cost of everything is.
Okay.
ELIF, we're not using ELIF right now. So technically ELIF, which is the different kind of decision-making logic, is actually starting on Monday.
Okay.
If you wanted to use ELIF logic, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
I think I saw it in an example.
Okay. So if you want to do, that might be an option. This way you can keep your project theme. And you can also you can create your decision logic. So you're calculating the tip and the total cost of the haircut plus the tip based on what the user wants, 15, 20, or 25%.
Okay.
You know,
that makes sense.
That might be a nice idea.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So what else you got?
Your idea for the tax actually reminded me of an idea that I actually might have for this. I remember last year I went to Canada over the summer, and they had a machine where you could convert like US dollar bills into Canadian dollar bills, and it would take like a certain percentage as tax for using the machine. I could do something like that for my firm.
It's not a tax, it's a fee. They take a certain amount of money for the conversion. Yeah.
Yeah, like a fee of sorts. So I could do like a conversion fee.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, would that be okay for my program?
To fulfill what purpose?
The two mathematical equations. So it'd be like multiplication and then subtraction. Because I think like they took like a certain amount of like a certain amount of your total.
You could. Yeah.
I think because if I remember correctly, the fee was like percentage based. They took like 5% of however much money you converted.
Yeah, and you could, I mean, anytime somebody comes to me with a question like this, I'm a problem solver. I'm always trying to force the solution based on the problem, right? So in your case, if you were to ask the user, for instance, if they're doing a conversion, if they're already in Europe, maybe the conversion factor is 0, but if you're in the United States, the conversion factor is a fee based on the amount you're trying to convert. I'm trying to fulfill the project requirements, you have to have decision logic. So maybe that might be a good factor for you. You know, are you in Europe or United States? Based on that, you can create your decision logic to calculate the conversion fee, and then add that in your equation. That might be a good idea to do.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Thank you.
Sure, sure. So what else can I give you as far as the quiz? Oh, so we talked about variables. Answer the question true or false. Do you need Python in order to work PyCharm?
Yes, true.
What do you think, Aaron?
True.
The right answer is it depends.
It depends on what you're doing.
So if all you want to do is write a program in PyCharm, you do not need Python. If you want to execute a program, you have to have Python. PyCharm is an integrated development environment. One part of PyCharm is that it's got an editor. That allows you to write your program. Okay? Because technically you need a text editor to write a Python program. So if all you're looking to do is to write a program, go ahead and write it in PyCharm, but you will not be able to execute. That's the reason why if you try to open up your code and you see a little yellow banner at the top that says, no Python interpreter, that's exactly what it means. It says, I can't find Python. If I can't find Python, I cannot run. That's why you need it. Let me try something here. Okay, yeah, mine is running. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna show you my screen. And I might be able to see you when that happens. So tell me if you can see the screen big enough that you can make sense of what I'm doing, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and share the screen. And I'm trying to see where the heck it is. The desktop. Share the screen. So can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see what I'm doing right now?
Yep.
Yep.
Do you see it says test.py?
Yep.
Yep.
So if I were to do, now you see what just happened just now? You notice that at the very top it says no Python interpreter configured for this project? I can't run the software. I cannot run this program, but let me just finish it anyway. So declare and initialize variables. Okay, so we said before, James was using that thing, that keyword value MP equal to 0. That's to declare and initialize, right? So what I could do is value MPG equal to input. Please enter your MPG rating. And end. So in order for me to address this problem, I have to then, I'm clicking on the configure Python interpreter, and you'll notice right here, it says no interpreter. Okay? This would make sense to you. And if I click on this little down arrow, I find Python, and I click OK, and as soon as it resolves the problem, the banner should go away. It's actually still loading. There we go. So it's going to take a few seconds. There it is, gone. So now I can run the program. Okay. So in order for me to get this thing to run, I'm going to say that calculated MPG equal to value MPG times I mean, I'm just making this up. But because I didn't declare it first, calculated MPG is equal to 0. And then I'm going to go ahead and print. value MPG entered was it sounds like someone's making lunch over there.
I was gonna say my mom might be running the sink.
Oh, got it. And the value calculated MPG is calculated MPG. All right. So what I'm going to do over here, I'm going to say out the values, calculate the equation. I'm just putting stuff in. Get value from user. Now I'm going to go ahead and run my code. Enter the MPG rating, 34. So I have my value entered was 34. The value calculated MPG is what happened?
If you guys convert it to an integer.
I think I did.
You forgot to calculate an MPG to an integer.
Well, this is equal to, so value MPG, let's take a look here.
Oh, you missed, you said calculated MP, you said calculated MPG for the first one, then the second time you said calculate MPG.
That's a problem, right?
Yep.
Okay, so if I put this in, there we go. So let's run it again. Did you see what just happened, Erin?
Yeah.
Okay, good. 34, and there's my calculation. Okay. Now, let's do something right now. So, in decision, if you wanted to print out the message, you want to advise the user to buy another car if the value MPG rating is less than 30 miles per gallon. Okay, so let's do that together. How do you do that? So if it's less than 30 mpg, say I would recommend you buy another car, but if it's over 30 mpg, you just say this car is got good gas mileage. I'll be your hands.
I guess starts a statement with an if.
Right.
And then value MPG is less than 30.
Yep.
And I guess you would add a comma here, right?
Well, you notice that little squiggly?
Yeah.
Okay, so according to Python, the syntax is we have to have a colon. And when you press the enter key, it's now waiting. What do you want to do? See, it automatically indented. It means you've done it right. Okay. So if value MPG is less than 30 miles per gallon, just 30, print, we suggest you get another vehicle with better gas mileage. Okay.
And then could we use elif here?
You don't have to. If we only have two conditions, we'll just use an else.
No.
Else. Okay, and notice that it doesn't have any other test. So if the value MPG is less than 30, we're going to say get another vehicle. If it's greater than or equal to 30, we want to say print, you've got a fuel efficient vehicle. Congratulations. We're done. The only time the elif is used is if you have multiple conditions, right?
Like if we have like 3 or 4 conditions.
Yeah. So if you have less than 30, you better get another car. Between 30 and 35, you might want to consider it within the next 2 years. Over 40, you got a fuel efficient car. Okay, so let's see if this works. I'm going to go ahead and run the program again. There we go. So if I have 26 miles per gallon, it actually should say we suggest you get another vehicle. Let's see if it works. We suggest you get another vehicle. Now, what would you do if you wanted to have that we suggest you get another vehicle indented? How would you do that?
You do like the slash T.
Very good. So right before the first word, inside the quotation marks, \T. I'm also going to put the \T here. How do you get the new line character to appear?
/N.
Very good. Very good. So I'm going to go ahead and you can cascade them. You notice that it says \N, \T, \T, \N. Right? Actually, the order is important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the \N first for a new line, then I'm going to tab it. That's important. Okay. I'm going to do a \N. Let's run the program again and see if that part works. You should only do one adjustment at a time. Okay, so let's try 26 again. There it is. We suggest you get another vehicle. We have a new line and a tab. Let's run it again to see if we have a 35 miles per gallon rating and then see if we have a different output. You've got a fuel efficient car. That's working. Let's do what we had said before. If it's less than 30 mpg, we'll suggest another vehicle. Elif value mpg is greater than or equal to 30 and value mpg is less than 40, print you might consider a new vehicle shortly. Else, you've got a fuel efficient car. Okay? So let's try that and see what it does. Now the ELF is not what you're responsible for on the quiz.
Okay.
Let's do 26. We suggest you get another car with better mileage. That makes sense, right? Let's try doing the program again. Only this time we'll try 35 mpg, and we should output, you might consider a new vehicle shortly. And it's working. Let's try running it with a hybrid, which is typically 50 miles per gallon, and we better get, you've got a fuel-efficient vehicle. You've got a fuel-efficient vehicle. So the ELIF allows you the ability to do multiple tests instead of just two or one. You don't have to have an else if you're just saying, if the person has less than 30 mpg, you better tell them get another vehicle. So does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Good. So let me do one thing. I'm going to stop a share. Okay, I'm back online again. It should be my face now. Okay, so we really went over almost every single thing we did in the class up since the beginning, right? We talked about variables. We talked about how to use the variables correctly. The piece that I'm going to be looking for in an equation is that if I said to you there was a value in A and a value in B, and you want to put the product of those two quantities in the variable C, how would you write it in Python?
It'd be C equals integer open space or open parentheses I guess times, which in this case is asterisk B close parentheses.
Okay, that would work. Or if I said assuming A and B have valid integer values, would the answer be C equals A times B or A times B equals C?
C equals A times B.
Yeah. Python requires the location of where you're putting the data to be first, followed by where the data is. So it's C equals A times B. Because what happens is when I say it, I mean Python. When Python sees that line of code, it basically stops execution of the program, looks to the right-hand side of the assignment operator, which is the equal sign. It looks at what's in A and B, does the operation, and then passes that result into C, in this case. Okay, so it works from right to left. Don't make a mistake in making it A plus, because in our minds, human mind, it's this times this equals C. Not the way Python processes. Input, the only thing you have to worry about with input is how do you acquire data from the user? If it's string data, like words, you don't have to put a typecast operator before the input. If it is numerical data, you have to tell Python, take whatever they're typing and precast it with either an int or a float. We didn't talk much about float, but it's the same thing as an int, only it's decimal point versus an integer. Print, I wanted to teach you the basics of what the print does. What about the only thing to remember with print is if you want literal and variable data to come out of the computer to the screen, you have to separate the fields by commas. Let me bring the screen back so you can see what I'm talking about. And so
yeah, I think on the first lab, I like messed up all the commas and it kept saying syntax error. So I had to keep.
Yeah, so if you take a look at right here, I have in my print, it says value MPG entered was. This is called literal. It means Python will literally take that string and output it to the screen, right? This value MPG, when it sees value MPG in words, since it's a variable, it will replace what's currently held in value MPG and put it into the output line. This is another literal. Anything in quotation marks is considered a literal. Calculated MPG will be replaced with what is being held in the variable calculated MPG. But notice that there is a comma separating literal to variable to literal to variable. That's the piece you need to remember. Okay? I'm going to go back to that. Okay. So what else can I answer for you? I think we covered almost everything. I mean, I don't know what else to do with you.
I was going to say, I don't know what you didn't cover today.
Yeah, that was great.
You know what's funny? Maybe it's not ha-ha funny, but it's kind of interesting. You look today and you look back a week, and if you could only do what happened last week today, right? This is the nature of what we're doing. So it's just an adjustment process, trying to get used to how the syntax works and looking at the requirements. One of the suggestions that I made was printing out the comments that I gave and the requirements document, highlighting the pieces that you did, and you should be covering all those pieces. So in our discussion today, we talked specifically about the kinds of things that you guys could do to make sure that your project that you selected meets the requirement. So you'll have until midnight tonight if you want to resubmit, and then I'll regrade and I'll send you those results in the morning.
Should we just edit the submissions for where we submitted the previous documents?
No. I'm going to put another file submission portal in the comments that I get, and in the email that I sent out, I said that I'll have a new submission portal for resubmission. Just go ahead and send that up. You don't have to do this, not the spreadsheet. What am I thinking? You don't have to do the flow chart. until you have an approved algorithm.
All right, yeah.
Okay?
But you haven't put that portal up yet.
I'm going to do that as soon as we get done. Two things to keep in mind. One, you've got your lab activity number 3A, part 1 due tonight at midnight. Your resubmission of programming assignment number 1 is also due tonight. Right? So just be mindful of that. Okay. I don't want to take up any more of your time. I just want to make sure that I've addressed all the questions that you have. Everything else okay?
Yeah, I think I'm good. If anything comes up, I can email you if I have any questions.
Yeah. I'll be available tonight until about, well, today until about 4:30, and then I'll be available for a limited time until later on tonight. But I will do my best in trying to address any questions that come up.
Okay.
Erin, you okay?
Yeah, thank you. This really helped.
You're not going to talk trash about me behind my back now, are you?
I won't.
Okay, good. All right, that's it. If there's no other questions, I will say goodbye and have a wonderful rest of your day. And,
Thank you. You too.
All right, yeah, thank you. Same to you.
You're welcome. I'll look forward to talking to you guys soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.